Something else? Or have you experimented with someone else's painkiller to get high? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you've misused or abused prescription drugs. And if you mix these medications with alcohol or other drugs, you increase your risk of addiction, overdose, and even death. You need to think twice before you take someone else's prescription meds, and never share your meds with others.
A message from the San Juan County Partnership, 505-566-5867.
Hi, I'm Tracy Hales-Vass, writer, retired professor of creative writing, and founder of One Book, One Community. I now host Right on Four Corners every Wednesday, 10:30 to 11, when I'll talk to local and regional authors. So please join me Wednesdays here on 90.9 FM KSJE Farmington.
KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them, whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury. San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. "11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Thursday morning, May the 20th, 2021. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, New Mexico. 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado. And streaming everywhere on Earth from our website, KSJE.com. Welcome also to our viewers who are joining us live this morning. The video is streaming to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. We are glad that you are with us this morning, everybody, because coming up, an important conversation about the drought conditions in our area. They are still with us, show no signs of going away, and that means fire danger. So this morning, we've got guests from Farmington Fire Department and the San Juan County Fire and Rescue Department in the studio to talk a little bit about the drought conditions and what that means for residents and visitors this summer. So that conversation is starting in the next few moments right here on KSJE. Next hour, of course, it is our COVID-19 Community Information Program. It'll be streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can hear it on the radio this afternoon at 5:06 p.m. We're going to be talking about summer programs for kids in the area from the Boys and Girls Clubs in San Juan County, Aztec, Farmington, and Bloomfield. Also talking about a rental assistance program from the state that is coming out and being made available to residents. So that information and much, much more coming up today, again, live on social media at 9 a.m., Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and on the radio this afternoon at 5:06 on KSJE. On the radio at 9 this morning, it's our classical music program, Roving with the Arts, and this morning Mick Hess is featuring music from the great Shostakovich. It's coming up today, next hour, here on the radio. Don't forget, of course, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we invite you to connect with us on our Instagram page as well. Outside our studios here at San Juan College this morning, a sunny morning so far, current temperature 60 degrees, and we are expecting a mostly sunny but windy day today. Winds could gust up to 40 miles per hour. My fire guests will not be happy to hear that. 83 for a high this afternoon in Farmington. Overnight, maybe a chance of a shower. The low tonight near 60 degrees. More chances for scattered showers tomorrow with a high on Friday of 71 and a low near 50 on Friday night. Maybe more chances for rain or a thunderstorm on Saturday. The high 78 and the low 48 before more sunshine and drier weather on Sunday with a high of 71. Well, let me introduce my guests who are here with me this morning, as I mentioned, from two of the major fire departments here in the region. From San Juan County Fire and Rescue, Deputy Chiefs Chris Carden and David Vega are here. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Scott.
Good to have both of you here. Also joining us, the Acting Chief from Farmington Fire Department, Robert Sterritz. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here, all of you, because a really important conversation, as I mentioned, to talk about just the extreme danger that we are in because of these dry conditions. And so let me start maybe talking with my guests from the county, because we had a major fire just last week One home was destroyed. 3 dogs perished, which people are very upset about, and understandably so. But certainly to lose one's entire home is also awful. And so we were talking a little bit before we came on the air this morning just about that fire. I know the exact cause is still under investigation, but it seems to be some type of maybe not human caused, but just some maybe electrical something. Dave Vega, tell me a little bit about it. You said perfect storm earlier today, so
Yeah,
what contributed to that?
Chief Carden was actually on the fire, so I'll let him speak to it. But I think the take-home message from that fire for us as the fire department was, it just highlights, hopefully to the public, how dry the fuels are out there. The dead fuels obviously are bone dry. There's no moisture in the dead fuels, and the live fuels, the fuels that are green, that we classify as live fuels, they're just so drought stressed right now that they are extremely receptive to fire. And I think we saw that in the fire behavior. But Chris was out there, so I think he'd probably give you the best firsthand information of what he saw when he got there.
Let's do that, Deputy Chief Carden. This fire, just in particular, I think is just one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah, it was just extremely fast moving. It started off initially as a pretty small wildland fire. One of our division chiefs got on scene and recognized that it was spreading rapidly due to the wind conditions and how dry it is, like Chief Vega stated. And it ran up a hill pretty quick, involved a structure, started spotting on us, and became very large very quick. One thing that was extremely helpful is we have great working relationships with all of our agencies in the area. So we were able to call upon both federal resources. We had BLM, we had an engine from Bureau of Indian Affairs, we had several engines from Farmington Fire come out. So having those resources so quickly out there, we did lose one structure, we did lose some animals, but it could have been a lot worse if we didn't have the additional resources out there we were able to get. So.
Yeah, there were several homes that were threatened, right,
Absolutely.
during the course of this fire, and had it not been for the work of your folks and other firefighters who were on scene, it would have been a lot worse, a lot more loss.
Yeah, we evacuated everybody on 5211 completely, and then we were looking at possibly doing more evacs, but we were able to get a handle on it pretty quickly.
Right, but this was pretty quick moving, right? I mean, again,
it was
the
very
fire
fast.
began below the home in the valley by the river, is my understanding, and then burned up the incline there, and that's how fires go, right? I mean, they burn faster going up than they do going down.
Correct.
Even I know that, and I'm just a radio guy. But I mean, and so unless you aren't there right away, it can really get out of control really quickly, and things can get really bad really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is kind of what we almost saw. And even such, it was what, 20-some acres?
27
acres.
27 acres.
Yeah.
Got you.
I walked out to.
Got you. And Chief Sterr, let me ask you a little bit again. The other folks here from the county mentioned the working relationship. It's really important to have that resources that you can call on, even when you're in the city, to call on the county to come in, and vice versa, to be able to share those resources to help where it's needed, right?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime we have a working fire, that's 3/4 of the available units in the city are tied up. And so we rely heavily on the county to fill the gap, and vice versa. I mean, with the volunteer system, they have challenges that are different than ours, and we're happy to help. I mean, those circumstances, it could be life and death difference of having enough people on scene. It could be the difference of saving another house.
Right.
When we're seeing fires, the county had fires earlier this spring that started in the middle of the night. And when you're seeing fires progress at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, similar to what you'd expect them to do in the middle of June, beginning of July, that only speaks to the conditions that are out there right now. And the only way to engage that is with resources soon.
Right.
So having that collaboration is key. And we have similar terrain features within the city, and it's been a number of years since we had a fire down in Westland Park a number of years ago, and it's the difference between making a good stop and not.
Right.
Having that relationship and getting everybody you can down there.
And what I think I'm hearing you saying, too, is just because someone lives in the city limits does not mean they are not at risk of wildland fire or fire danger during these really dry conditions.
Absolutely. We've got the river bottom that has offshoots, up drainages. Every year, people can see fires in the Bosque around Albuquerque. You put wind on top of that, and it's no different.
Right.
And actually, it can be much more scarier because the fuel density is so high in those areas.
Right.
Which is part of what we've been working with parks and doing some mitigation on the river bottom, the Riverwalk, to help provide safety for that infrastructure that we have down there that people enjoy walking and
Right. It's been a lot of work to thin out some of that brush down there, and growth, I guess, is what I would say. And that helps in fire mitigation, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Let me show this map that we called up earlier this morning to show everyone just how dry it is. And, of course, this looks like the state has looked to me for a long time. Unfortunately, our state has been in a severe drought. Our region of the state seems like it's been in extreme drought. Let me look at this. Actually, it says exceptional drought. Let me use the right terminology, because we can say extreme, but exceptional is even worse than extreme.
Exceptional is as bad as it gets, and the only way that you get to that exceptional drought stage is just having long duration periods with little to no moisture that just saturates the soil, and and we're definitely seeing that. And I'll give you some perspective that's kind of interesting. I always like to try to highlight this. When you go buy a 2x4 at Lowe's or Home Depot,
Well, no one's that rich anymore,
right?
but
I
okay,
know, right?
if you say so.
Yeah, you might as well be buying gold anymore if you're going to do that.
Yeah, all right, Mr. Rockefeller, go ahead.
If you go to your hardware store and buy that 2x4, that 2x4 has been dried in a kiln, right?
Right.
So, typically a dried, kiln dried piece of lumber has anywhere between 6 to 8% fuel or moisture in it still, right?
Even after that.
Even after it's been kiln dried. The 10-hour fuels, dead fuels, so, if you look at the diameter of my coffee cup right here, this is what we call it, a 10-hour fuel, so to speak. The fuel moistures that we're seeing on the ground right now are 5 to 6% in the 10-hour fuels. So again, just to put that in perspective, the dead fuels that are on the ground right now are drier than a piece of lumber at the hardware store.
Wow.
And so we're seeing that in the fire behavior, that we're getting in these fires. The 5211 fire that Chief Cardin was on. Chief Sterrett mentioned a fire that we had a couple weeks ago on County Road 4800. That fire burned actively throughout the night, which is, traditionally fires are going to slow down at night because the temperatures are cooler, the relative humidities are higher. But the fuels right now are so receptive. So when you do get a little fire, it's just not going to stay small long unless you just have the resources on scene immediately to control it. And that's where, to tie that back in, that interagency cooperation with our partners comes in.
That's where we had the large fires out in Shiprock too.
Yeah.
We sent
That's
units
right.
out to. They were huge.
Exactly. And very threatening, right? I mean, they were really...
Yeah, we had one go 100 acres, the other went 422. So, and again, we had multiple agencies out there assisting.
Right.
Navajo Nation fire.
Scary. And I guess the other thing from looking at this map is that really, even if we get a lot of rain this year, it's really not going to help conditions improve much because we need a lot of consistent rain. I'm not a meteorologist, but isn't that kind of how it works too? Because the ground is just so dry.
Yeah, we're just so drought stressed right now. And I'll let these guys, just for some perspective. I was reaching out to some of the meteorologists yesterday out of the Albuquerque weather office for NWS. They're right now they're predicting probably a normal monsoon, and again a normal monsoon is not going to take us out of the drought that we're in.
Right. Gee.
And that goes in hand. We just had a really comfortable day a couple days ago with light moisture.
Yeah, right.
And that gives a lot of people a sense of security that's really not there. It's going to take saturating rains that are repetitive. Every week we're getting another storm to make any change. And that truly ties into the problem with monsoons, because you'll get a heavy rain on the east side of town and nothing on the west side of town. And so you have areas that have different fire behavior because of that, but you've got areas that are just as extreme as before the moisture came in.
Right, right, and that's a problem. And so, so as we look ahead to the rest of the summer, what are we thinking? It's just going to be the same or worse conditions, I guess, as we go through, because it's going to get drier, not wetter, probably anytime soon. Correct?
Yeah, the 30-day, again, talking to the incident meteorologist yesterday, kind of what they're seeing, the pattern setting up is, through the rest of this month, it's going to kind of be unsettled a little, so we might have some spot showers here and there. They're predicting a couple significant wind events, one being today and then maybe another one this weekend. But generally speaking, the next 30 days are going to be, overall above average temperatures, below average precipitation, so just not a whole lot of relief.
Right, and that will bring up the topic of burn permits. All of you have banned burn permits. You're not issuing burn permits, at least for the immediate future, and it's because of these conditions, correct? That's really the reasoning behind these decisions, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. And so if folks want to burn, need to burn, they just need to sit on it and wait, I guess, right?
Yeah. Any just burning other than recreational, we're still allowing if people want to barbecue, if they want to have a small open pit fire, they're doing stuff out back. We're still allowing those recreational fires at night and stuff like that. Still need to have an adequate water source, still need to be watching it, don't leave it unattended. But as far as open burning, any agricultural burning, stuff like that, we have asked that we just put a stop to it right now, and we've done that internally and just asked nobody, we're just not issuing burn permits at this time for that reason.
Not happening. Chief, same thing in the city limits, right?
That is the same, and I guess I'm going to touch on another point because sometimes there's confusion between not issuing burn permits and a burn ban.
Right.
This isn't a burn ban. If you go into, say, a Forest Service Stage 1 burn restriction, you still allow fires, but they have to be in the approved Forest Service rings and so forth. So we're not at that point yet, but we are not issuing burn permits to burn yard waste and so forth. So, and I don't see that changing in the near future either with the predicted conditions.
Right. And for the other folks, this covers all of the unincorporated areas of the county. This covers the city of Farmington, city of Bloomfield, and then I think you mentioned
Town of Kirtland.
Town of Kirtland.
And then city of Aztec is looking at doing the same thing.
Okay. So it's pretty much county-wide. It sounds like, well, except in the reservation? What have you heard
actually, I can let
from
Chief Vega tie in on that. They did issue a burn restriction or I
Same
saw
thing?
something.
Yeah, so
Very
Navajo
similar.
Nation did issue a proclamation Monday, I believe, that went into effect for, as Chief Starrett alluded to, their Stage 1 fire restrictions, which pretty much, prohibit open burning. So in line with us, that does allow for recreational fires, barbecues, things of that nature still. But they did. The Carson National Forest went into Stage 1 fire restrictions. So pretty much those federal lands that surround us in the county have all gone into the same type of restrictions. I would imagine the BLM lands are probably not too far behind those same decisions being made.
Right.
But everyone's seeing the same conditions in the region.
Well, and if you look at that map again that I'm putting on the screen, you can see why, because it's all these lands you're talking about is pretty much in that exceptional drought category these days. So that brings me to another topic for all of you, and that is fireworks, because we are coming into summer and getting closer to 4th of July, and there's always, I think, a big concern about fireworks in our state. And I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of frustration because you can only do what you can do because of the state laws in New Mexico. And so let's talk about that for just a moment, and let's start with Chief Starrett about the city, because the city has a bit more restrictive policies and ordinances about fireworks than the county does. And so looking ahead at when fireworks sales begin sometime towards the end of June, what will the city be looking for?
The city maintains the strictest level of allowable fireworks 365 days a year. So it doesn't really change for the city. When we do our proclamation, all it really does is restrict where you can use it and mandates you have water on hand. Basically anything that shoots more than 8 feet, no aerial rockets, Roman candles, mortars, aerial spinners, anything of that nature, it's pretty much not allowed all year round. So anything stricter than that is controlled at the state level. So we do field a number of phone calls of people that they don't understand that, and they're frustrated. And if that's an agenda that they want to see change, they need to take it to their state representatives and make that an agenda at the state level.
Right. So every year it seems like we see the mayor and the city council passing these ordinances that are up to what the state then allows you to have on the books.
Correct.
And that's as much as you can do.
It is.
As much as they can do. There you go. In the county, it's a little bit more open, I guess, for different types of fireworks. And so, again, but same type of thing, right? The county commission, I think, usually is asked by probably one of you gentlemen to pass an ordinance because of drought conditions to restrict as much as you can the type of fireworks that are offered for sale in the county. And that, I assume, is going to be the same this year?
Yeah, so not an ordinance as much, because just the amount of time and forethought and the steps that have to go through with passing an ordinance. So we'll look at resolutions or proclamations. We did look at, we're going to present one Tuesday to the county commission, asking them to ban what we can under the drought restrictions in the state statute. And those are the fireworks that are, a lot of people deem probably to be the most misused or cause, they're the firework that 100% of the firework leaves the ground, which means some of it's going to come back down to the ground, and a lot of times it's on fire. So those are your stick-type rockets, your aerial spinners, your missiles, those types of fireworks. We still will allow some aerials out in the county.
Right.
And fireworks do go on sale June 20th and then come off sale July 6th.
So about a month from now,
Yes.
is when the sales will start in the city and county. And so we were talking a bit before about maybe some voluntary restrictions from the fireworks vendors, that maybe they won't be selling as many fireworks that could cause problems this year because of the drought conditions. Is that something that they've been talking with you about?
So we've all met with the vendors that are local, and have talked to them about what we're wanting to present on Tuesday, and all of them are in support of what we're wanting to do.
Okay.
They understand the situations, and I guess the biggest takeaway from it, and I know that probably everybody will touch on it, but one of the things we really want to state is we will have shows, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that in the public shows. And if people do want to shoot off fireworks, they want to purchase fireworks, whether it's in the city or in the county, we really recommend them to go out to McGee Park. We'll have that open again this year, and we really try to stress that it's an open paved area. We see that to improve, and people continue to utilize that. And we really stress that's a really good place we like people to go, because it really minimizes the fire danger from shooting them off in your backyard or something landing in your neighbor's yard. It relieves a lot of stress.
Right, for sure. And I think that's a great point, is that, and again, kudos to the county for making McGee Park available for anybody, really, city, county resident, doesn't matter, to go out and safely have an area to enjoy their fireworks. Because I know there might be some in the audience listening and watching us this morning saying, well, what a bunch of killjoys. It's all about freedom and 4th of July and fireworks, and it's an American as apple pie. And then you're not saying don't do it, but do it safely. And here's a place for free. You can come with your family and have a safe spot, and that's going to be the same thing this year.
Correct.
It'll be made available. And I think it's great. And you've got a fire station, as we mentioned, right next door. So if there's any problem, it can quickly be dealt with. But that's a great thing. You mentioned the official shows, and so those are in the works, right? I think we've all been talking this morning that there are plans for fireworks on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July this year, as we have been wanting to enjoy them. Last year, not so much, but last year was a weird year. But this year, plans are back, and that's exciting to hear, right? Bloomfield on the 5th?
That's what we're hearing so far, is that Bloomfield's looking at doing fireworks on the 5th.
Very good.
We're open.
Mr. Bolak on the 4th, as far as we know.
Mm-hmm. And then the city's still planning on doing theirs on the 3rd.
Some kind of Freedom Days celebration on July the 3rd.
And that brings up the point, there's been some discussion on whether that's safe or not. These events are meant for families to enjoy and have a good time safely, and we saturate the area with responders. We'll have 2 additional crews on. We bring the BLM within the city. The county comes in to help cover because the traffic makes it difficult to get around. So we try to take as many steps as we can to minimize any extra risk to the civilians
Right.
in the city.
And that's a good point, I think, too, because a lot of folks might wonder why the city and other entities are allowed to do these big shows, which are aerial fireworks and do come with a bit of risk. But you're planning for it, and that is a big part of it, because if I'm shooting off things in my backyard, you haven't planned for that, and all of a sudden it's an emergency, and I'm burning down half my neighborhood, and nobody wants that. So this is a way you can stage equipment near the scene, so if something does happen, you've got crews right there ready to go, and I think that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you're, at least in the city, the site is near a golf course, which is watered and usually has some access to more sources of water than just out in the open would be.
It helps. And then even the hill, I know everybody sees a little fire here and there on the hill.
Right.
It grows a short, sparse grass that isn't dense enough to carry fire. We've burned at that hill a couple times, and it just doesn't carry fire very well. There's too much rock and too much dirt.
Which
in
is
between.
probably by design, right? That's why you picked that spot, I would assume, one of the reasons.
I hope so. That
Okay.
spot's been
Maybe
that
before
spot.
you're-
That's what we're saying anyway.
Right.
As far as anyone in this room knows that.
All right, there you go. Anyway, but I understand. And again, you've got crews there that can get right on top of it if something does start to burn, and I think we've seen that after some of the shows. There have been some spot fires perhaps that you guys just move in and take out. So
Absolutely.
that's how it works. But you would all recommend, I think, that if folks want to enjoy fireworks, that's probably the safest way that a family can enjoy a fireworks display, is going to one of these planned ones, whether it's, again, City of Bloomfield, City of Farmington, B Square Ranch. They're all planning something this July.
Absolutely.
So, very, very good. We just have a couple minutes remaining this morning, gentlemen. So, again, I know we have drought conditions, exceptional drought, probably not going to change. We talked a bit about snowpack, and that really doesn't do much, unfortunately, for the ground conditions. It certainly helps the river flows, but even the river flows are low from what we're used to this time of year. And I was saying earlier that I thought snowpack was close to normal, but it may have been, but that runoff has been less than we expected, I guess. What's been going on with that?
We've had a few meetings with some NOAA hydrologists out of Durango, and part of the lack of runoff is even in the San Juan Mountains, the soil is so dry that when the snow's melting, it's not really running down the mountain very far.
It's not getting to the rivers, I guess.
It isn't.
It's
It's
just
getting
soaking into
absorbed.
that soil? I see.
And yesterday we were just over 1,000 cubic feet per second in the Animas River.
What are we normally?
The average is 24 to 2,500,
So less than half.
but during peak runoff we've 4,000, 6,000.
In a good year, that's right.
6,000.
So it definitely brings up concerns of potential upcoming water restrictions, and actually my next meeting is based on that. So
Right, which is today.
It
right?
is.
You're having a meeting after our conversation, which is interesting and good. And so let us know how that goes. Folks from the county, kind of same concerns, right? I mean, if there's less water, there's less water to go around, less irrigation, and less sources, I guess, if you have a fire that you need to get to. Right?
Yeah, basically the same concerns. You know, the snowpack, we just did not have the snowpack in the lower elevations, here in the county. So, again, that moisture is not being returned to the soil, and we're just not coming out of that drought stress. So, I haven't heard of any. We're in a little bit different situation in the county. We don't have a municipal water supply,
Right.
so the water systems that are out there, are water users associations. So, I haven't heard anything coming down unless Chief Garden has in terms of water restrictions.
I haven't heard anything on that, but I guess something to take away from it and what we've seen is we go back to the fire we talked about in the acres. We do, like Chief Vega said, all of our water users are certain geographical areas within the county. I know that fire, we ended up using probably, I think, about 86 to 90,000 gallons of water on that fire. So again, when we have fires like this, it can have ripple effects, not only to losing structures, to losing pets, but also having infrastructure impacts on our water source for the residential use and stuff like that. So something just to take into consideration.
Right. So I guess if a fire were to happen and you had to pull from that that water system, they may have less than to offer to customers and may need to do some temporary restrictions to build up that supply. Is, I think what I'm hearing you say.
Likely scenario,
Yes.
absolutely.
Got you. And so since we know we're going to have a dry summer, we could probably start thinking about limiting or lowering our use of water even now. Would make sense
Yeah,
to me. So
yeah, absolutely.
very good. Well, we appreciate all of you coming in this morning to talk with me about what we're facing and what we're doing, and of course all of your crews, the volunteers with San Juan County, the paid staff at the county and the city, and that keep us all safe and respond at 2 in the morning or whenever that alarm goes off that there's a problem. Really appreciate all the service. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks for having
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a safe summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My guest this morning from the city of Farmington and San Juan County, talking about the drought conditions that we are facing this year. Back with more in just a moment, everyone. This is KSJE.
Sometimes, when you want to solve big problems, you need a contest. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace Tech. I'm Molly Wood.